I never want to be that client who's demanding and doesn't also pull my weight. And I never want to be that client who is so particular that I can't let an agency do what they do best, right?
Being the gardener.
I want to be a gardener. Yeah, that's
You're
it.
just trying to be a gardener over here.
I am. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah,
this
thanks
is
for
so
coming.
cool. I'm really honored to be invited. I know you've spoken
Come
to
on.
some really cool, influential people before, and I'm like, you want to talk to me? Okay, that sounds great.
I mean, for me, you represent a marketing function for a brand that we all know really well in this city, right?
Nice.
And you guys do a lot of great work. So I'm Caleb.
Hi,
This is my
Caleb.
colleague, David. And this is the Growth League podcast, and we have a special guest today. It's Cassondra Dickin from DIRTT, the Director of Strategic Marketing. So
That's me.
thanks for being here.
For everybody that's listening, DIRTT, by the way, is a global leader in industrialized construction, building dynamic spaces that adapt and evolve in response to the changing needs, specifically on the interior side. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's perfect. Yeah, you used our new branding statement. Thank you so much.
It's great branding, by the way. The website is fantastic. It
Thanks.
looks really nice. I obviously perused it before the interview.
And it's still evolving, as websites always do. But thank you for saying that. We worked really hard to evolve our brand.
Now, one thing that I wanted to suggest this time around, as my first time being on this podcast, is I love talking about marketing, and we're going to dive into all that jazz. But I actually want to learn a bit about you first, Cassondra, because you have, I'm not sure if you
I
checked
don't.
your
No,
LinkedIn
I'm just
recently. yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. You have 14 years of marketing experience. which
Really?
is-
We're at 14
Yeah.
now?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
feel that old. I still
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like a new graduate sometimes. But
It's wild,
Yeah.
but you're also you. So I'd love to just learn a bit. Okay, so you're from Calgary and kind of take it from there, and then we can dive into a little bit more about how you ended up at DIRTT, if that works for you.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm from Calgary, born and raised. One of the few people still here, I guess. And I've been in a bit of a marketing and communications world most of my career. Kind of ebbed and flowed between both, and I think that's helped me be stronger at what I do. Most of that time in the construction and design field, also some time at a really cool not-for-profit here locally. And I mean, when I graduated, I went, what do I want to do? I want to do something different. You know, I want to do a path of working at organizations that I'm really passionate about, where I really believe in the value of what they're doing, that has impact on people. And that led me to start out at an art and architectural fabricator, like cool, different. Here in Calgary, if you know the big white head in front of the bow, Wonderland, that was like one of the projects that I got to be a tiny part of at the time. Cool. And we were doing these beautiful things that impact people's lives on a daily basis and create beautiful public space. I was like, ooh, I like this. This feels really good. And that led me into this world of continuously being engaged in creating dynamic, beautiful spaces, public, private. And that the company I work at now, we build more sustainable spaces for healthcare, for education, for people to work and live in every day. And it's something I've gotten really passionate about.
And how did you get into, like, tell me about the path to going over to DIRTT. Like, how did that come about?
Oh, so much luck, good connections. I've been lucky enough to have some fantastic mentors in my career.
Right.
And one of them introduced me to the director of marketing at DIRTT at the time through something completely unrelated. And, you know, at that time, it didn't make sense for me to move. I really loved what I was doing then. But when the time came around again a couple years later, we had a great discussion and he brought me on board. Ken is very good at building teams, and he brought in a couple other people at the time who are still on my team. And it's just been a fantastic journey since then.
That's amazing.
For young marketers, sort of the dream for a lot of them is to, grow within the organization that they're at. Taking a look at your work experience with DIRTT, like you went from, I think, a coordinator all the way to running. So tell us about that journey and what are some of the things that have interested you or shocked you or you've learned along that path?
Oh, so much learning. It has been an interesting journey, but it's interesting in a company like DIRTT, where particularly when I started there wasn't hierarchy. So I might have, my LinkedIn says I was a coordinator and then a specialist and then whatever, right? But it was this world where everyone had equal responsibility in the success of the company. It was very much, still a bit of a startup mentality and mode, and this like high growth business with really passionate individuals. and it's intoxicating and it's exciting, and all you want to do is help the person next to you succeed, and they've got your back and you've got theirs. And so that kind of environment was really fun to thrive in. You have to learn really fast, but you get to try all sorts of different things, right? Because there aren't these defined roles where that's your job, that's my job. It's everybody dig in, figure out what needs to be done, and let's make it happen. So you get to try so many things, right? Yeah. I got to like explore and dive deep on big projects, working with agencies, digital initiatives, launching new websites, little media relations, expanding our public presence onto another stock exchange. So IR, like, got to do a little bit of all of it. And I think that is really what's helped contribute to my ability to grow into that role.
Also, your knowledge of DIRTT as a company. I think that's like one of the harder things when you're venturing into a new business, like with a different product, let's say, that you haven't worked in before. You know, if you don't get enough exposure around the house to how it works, it's very hard for you to innately, really in depth understand the product. But it sounds like you've been exposed to so much that it's given you the breadth you need to actually be in the role you're in today.
Yeah, exposed to, and have had a lot of people help me on that journey, of course. Yeah. And DIRTT is this cool thing in that when it started, literally no one in the world was doing what we were doing, right? We're industrialized construction. That's how we describe it. But really think about designing your entire space in a sophisticated computer program that not only helps you see what it's going to be, but calculates every part and piece and tells you how much it's going to cost at the penny, and then build it in a factory and install it quickly on site more sustainably, right?
That was not this building.
This is an existing
for those of you who can't see what's going on right now, it's we could definitely use DIRTT's support and services.
100%.
Probably will be.
But hey, it's a beautiful existing building, and you want to preserve that too, right? So because nobody in the world is doing it, it's not something you can like learn out of a textbook or Google. You really have to learn from the people around you who were part of creating this thing. And so it's a lot of like listening to the founder's vision, understanding the philosophy, talking to the people who actually build and work with the things we make to understand how it goes together and why. So I was lucky to get exposed to all that.
So you just talked about the founder's vision, and this is interesting. A challenging piece for anyone going into a business or anyone working with a new business, a new venture, is always understanding that vision as much as the founders understand that vision, right? Like it's, it's at the end of the day, it's their baby. It's not your baby. And so they're trying to get you to understand like, hey, this could be all our babies. Like we can share this one.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about your experience in that, like what made them good at communicating that vision, or
is that vision still alive today? I mean, some of the
absolutely
things.
Great question. So two parts. One is what made them good at communicating that vision, and two, do you think that vision is still there today, or has it evolved?
Yeah, what a good question. And I think my journey in marketing at DIRTT has been all about finding that core story, hanging on to the right parts of it, and then making sure it survives and thrives through so much change, right? For those who might not know the journey of DIRTT, is we grew rapidly, we were doing very well, and we've also had a lot of change. So I've been there 6 years next month, and I'm on my 6th CEO with the company, right? And like for the record, we're in a really great place, and our current CEO has been in our universe for 15 years, and it's going to be fantastic. Like we're feeling really good. But to get to this point, it's been so much change and so much flux. And every new leadership group that's come in has had their own kind of vision for where we need to go and how we need to get there. But the thing when you're in marketing, you get all these different influences hitting you from every direction, and we need to change this and do this, but the core story is always there, right? And so it's been a matter of like uncovering it and sifting through all of that to find what that true essence is. And we're really lucky in that our founders had clarity around that. One in particular, Jeff Gosling, his philosophy around our ecosystem of DIRTT and all of the parts and pieces and how they come together and why they're adaptable is a really beautiful story. And when you tell it the right way, you really capture the mind and the attention of designers and people who use space, because it's not only more sustainable, it's not better for all these various reasons, but it evolves with them, and it's really for the people who use space. And so, well, I'm not the best storyteller. I'm surrounded by people on my team who are way better than I am. Finding that core truth and then using it has been like our North Star through all of this. And now that we're kind of coming out the other end of so much change, we're starting to see it work. And we're starting to see it take off, because we've kind of cleared through all the clutter. And I think when I say, I'm really proud of how we've evolved our brand, it's because it respects where we came from. And I think it's the best reflection of who we are at that core. It's not, it's not painting over something. It's not meant to be shiny or pretty. It's meant to be honest.
Yeah.
Nobody would accuse you or anyone of maybe departing a company that goes through that much change in such a short period of time. Is it the vision, or what else is it that has kept you infatuated or intrigued with the brand or position? Is it your team? What's the sticky point?
Yeah. My company is a funny thing like that. When I first started at DIRTT, I used to call it this like beautiful broken mess, and it was chaotic and it was crazy. And I had no idea how we were successful despite ourselves until I finally realized it's because of all these incredibly passionate people who really believe in what we do, and it's contagious. And I really believe in it too. I mean, if everyone in the world built with DIRTT, and this is not meant to be a commercial for DIRTT, I'm sorry, but I really am passionate about it. If everyone in the world built with DIRTT, the planet would be a better place. It's so much more sustainable. That is a line.
That's a tagline right there. I think we've got to charge you for that one. I think you'll be getting an invoice depending on the how Google responds to that.
Excellent.
But that makes a ton of sense.
Right.
And it's really nice to hear that passion is there, because to Kayla's point, and I've been there as well. In one company I worked in, there were 3 changes of full leadership. The full leadership top changed 3 times. And so, you as a director have to keep the pace and the rhythm and keep the energy alive amongst those that are coming up the ranks, because as far as they're concerned, it's one of their first, maybe their second, maybe their third job. And they're looking to you and they're looking to everyone else for inspiration. So it is fantastic to hear that, DIRTT is just built of passionate people that essentially drive that almost like independent pods, rather than like, oh, look to the guys above. No, they have their own unique passion and they drive that forward, right?
And they're so smart and they're so capable. We've got these amazing designers, these amazing technical people, amazing operations people, fantastic installers, this partner network of just construction intelligence across North America. And when you bring all that together in the right way and then empower people, then magical things happen.
To that point, I mean, when I first met you and had the chance to talk to you, we talked a little bit about your team and the construction of your team and the way that you motivate, encourage, and become motivated and encouraged by them. Can we share with our listeners a little bit about your team and how you approach nurturing that relationship and that group?
Absolutely. And I mean, I have to say I'm very lucky to have this incredibly talented team of people who are way smarter than I am around me. And they are very passionate and driven. And, I don't have to motivate them, so I'm very lucky. If anything, I think my job is protecting them and giving them the space they need to survive and thrive. Particularly in a company where everyone's in marketing. Anywhere you go, particularly at DIRTT, everyone's got great ideas. And it's this ongoing balance of, listening and being open to that, while also thinking, okay, well, we've got our objectives and how do we make sure we're focused on the right things? So I find most of my job is giving my team space to do what they do best, to be creative, to try different ideas, to fail, to try again, to thrive. And being a little bit of a human shield for some of that, right? Mm-hmm. And if I can give my team the space to do that and the trust to do that, well, we're doing some pretty cool things. So it's working. It's a bit of a I'm gonna use a metaphor that I'm borrowing from someone I've gotten to work with quite a bit, Charles. And this might be his, or he might have borrowed it from someone else. I'm gonna take it. With my team, the metaphor is like you can be a carpenter or you can be a gardener. Have you guys heard this one before? No? Maybe? Yeah. And I think earlier on in my career, I was very much the carpenter. You know, you can take these beautiful cuts of wood and you can cut them and shape them and sand them into these perfect forms. And they're exactly what you've envisioned, and you've created that thing. And you can teach people to do exactly what you want, and you get these amazing things, and they last forever until they become, you know, an antique sideboard. But if you're a gardener, you have to cultivate. You know, you have to address the soil conditions, consider the lighting, you know, plant different plants around that might complement and help the other plants beside them grow, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
As a leader, I've learned to be more of a gardener and let things go, try to create the right conditions for my team.
Yep.
And they come up with way better results than I would.
So
right?
Just talking to that team, tell me a little bit about, like, what does the structure look like? You know, is it like website, like resources like that are focused on design, or is it like writers? Is it, you know, brand managers per se for the different things that you sell? Like, tell me a little bit what the structure looks like, because it's such a different company to what I've been exposed to personally in the past.
Well, we've tried a lot of different structures over the time I've been there, and it's changed a lot. You know, the reality of it is we lost quite a bit of our team earlier this year. A lot of people I respect and loved working with. That was just the reality of where we are as a company. But like I said, we're bouncing back.
Yep.
So where we are right now, we're quite small. But we've got, you know, fantastic people with video production experience, great copywriters, amazing visual communicators, some really strong digital people, comms people, strategists. But when I say there's only 5 of us,
I mean, it's a punchy team for the day and age, you know. It's like, because a lot of stuff is outsourced and outsourceable.
yes,
Like our buddies Rome over here, you know, like, you know, they're video. So, you know, when you're trying to think about, like, why would we bring that in house? It's kind of it's a tricky one when these guys, that's all they're doing all the time. I can't talk to them about anything else but video.
it's their expertise, right?
Exactly.
And so we lean on that a lot. There's a few different groups and agencies we work with, and we lean on their expertise as well, because we don't pretend to know all the answers either.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And people have just gotten so specialized and so talented at it. Like, you know, they're still the generalists, but people have gotten, more specialized. Sorry, you were gonna.
No, it's just on the topic of, you know, partners that you work with. That's a big topic that comes up with our audience.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, we're talking to a lot of marketing managers, directors, and there's not one size fits all in terms of finding and building and nurturing that relationship, getting the most out of that relationship for both sides. What's your blueprint on that? How do you look at finding and building strong external relationships?
Yeah, good question. Honestly, it is really about the relationship. And in the past, we've had kind of, you know, one go-to agency, and they've been like everything for us and amazing. Right now, we've got at least 3 plus a couple of contractors, you know, depending on what that expertise is. We've got some that are really great, very kind of journalistic focus, good content creation, really helping us think about, you know, long-term brand story. We've got some that are just super technical and help us do like the nitty-gritty things that's like, whew, that's over my head. Thank you. I trust you got that. And then other kind of other people as well. And of course, brand support as well. Those relationships have kind of really grown organically. It's a little bit of who you know, who you trust. But also the depth and longevity of that is based on how well you work together. And I think to be a good partner, we have to give as much as they do too. I never want to be that client who's demanding and doesn't also pull my weight. And I never want to be that client who is so particular that I can't let an agency do what they do best. Right?
Being the gardener.
I want to be a gardener. Yeah, that's
You're
it.
just trying to be a gardener over here.
I am.
Apparently, you're a listener.
Yeah, every so often. Very rarely.
Never listens to me.
Like, it's out. Like, my parents call and say, "Hello, if we're going to bed today," I'll just talk the ear off them because I've used all my tokens here.
I like
Is
it.
that an Irish thing, or is it just a you thing?
Oof. talking in general. Well, it's just when you've got friends like Caleb that are terrible talkers in general. It's I've got to like carry the weight of the conversation.
Oh,
It's
my
not a pressure.
goodness.
My shoulders are quite sore on a daily basis. It's
So
really
much weight
tough.
to carry, huh?
I do love that though, and I love the approach you're taking with, because you're keeping it open as well to other people to kind of come in and out. And at the end of the day, I think one of the challenging pieces always, and we talk about this a lot at Hook and Ladder, is like, how do we keep the talent that we have relevant at all times? Like, how do we make sure that, you know, the person driving a specific activity within marketing is the most relevant, talented person that we can have, you know, in the seat. So I think it's really cool that you're leaving it open in that way. Like, you're allowing yourself to see what's out there all the time. And it's only going to make you better as a leader, because the more exposure you have to what all these different people are doing, the more you start to get beyond what you're accustomed to just like churning out, which can often happen in marketing, can often be, which like Caleb and I talk about a lot. Sometimes we're like the first people to put our hands up and say like, who cares about marketing? And then at the same time, we love marketing. Like, it's weird, but it's true that there can come a point where people just start churning out rather than constantly looking over the parapet and saying like, oh, what's that guy doing over here? That's very different. I haven't seen that approach to that kind of content, to that reel, to that this, to that those. So that's pretty cool. I do have a question on content specifically. DIRTT is very specific in what they do.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. Like, you can't just go out to a copywriter who's been writing about like sports and writing then about, you know, Five Guys, and then writing about, you know, videography, and be like, we want you to write about how, you know, important it is to have modular industrial construction in that's environmentally friendly, and we need 800 words and run it by Friday.
Good luck.
So how do you approach content writing? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, good question. Because not only is what we do complex, we want to say it incredibly simply. And when you think about who we're speaking to, oh my gosh, we speak with general contractors, architects, designers, people who use space, right?
You have to read that stuff and understand it before. Yeah.
In all these different segments, from healthcare, which is really technical, to office space and whatever. So yeah, it takes time, and it's a time investment.
Yeah.
And that kind of comes back to that relationship piece and wanting to build and cultivate that, because if we've brought on a group to write and tell stories about DIRTT, I have to invest a huge amount of time and effort into helping them learn about DIRTT. Like, I bring in agencies and they come and do tours at our factory. They do VR experience. They listen to our virtual tours. They spend time with us. That's an investment. Some of them come to our big events in Chicago or Dallas, right? And we want to invest in them so they really do understand it, right? And I'm not throwing them to the wolves and saying good luck. It's a journey. And with DIRTT, it takes a long time to really understand that, to be able to express it simply, right?
When you're like, as DIRTT goes, and this is kind of with, again, it's a bit to content, but more to mediums. Where are you finding right now the most traction in terms of where is the most relevant place for you to be, speaking from the, I guess what's the best medium to be communicating your message right now? Is it LinkedIn? Is it social? Is it Google Ads? Is it your website and powering that to where are people listening to you?
All of the above.
Okay.
We've actually gone through, I mean, it's a bit of a building block. We're building on top of foundations right now. So last year was a lot of kind of going back to the foundations. What is our brand story? How are we telling it? What's the visual identity? Let's launch a new website. Now we've got some foundational work done. And now this year we're trying to use all of that properly. And so, yes, we are running digital campaigns. We are leveraging social and trying to grow all of those pieces. But for us right now, and at the scale we're at, content is so critical again. Right? And so we've just launched a new insight section where we've taken a lot of this like really great historical evergreen content, brought it all together, and that's our new home to host all of that going forward. Where it was in kind of a few different disparate places before, kind of creating that hub and bringing people back and re-engaging and providing value, right? Providing enough value and being insightful enough that they actually think they're going to learn. They actually know they're going to learn from our insights. And so that's kind of it, like content, but in a way that actually adds value.
And easily legible, like, and accessible. Because I can imagine people who are looking at, let's say there's an RFP out there and you're participating in it, they need to be able to get to a place where they can very quickly establish your relevance to the project, and establish the quality of work you do, establish the, let's say, for example, in another life, Cassondra's gone into sales and she's running the whole sales team. And they're saying,
I would not be good at that.
Yeah, I don't know. You're selling dirt really well right today. So
she's been there since day one.
Yeah. So, but like it's almost always, it's ensuring that there's a place that they can go and they can go, yeah, that's what Cassondra was talking about. I really like that. What she told me is here.
And I think this is what you're talking about, but I call it like the sniff test a little bit, where it's like, okay, I just had a compelling conversation with a member of the sales team at DIRTT or whatever, and now I'm in my home and it's my downtime. I'm going to go look around and see what they've authored or see what's. And if the two things are congruent, they're saying the exact same thing. There's that innate, foundation of trust and credibility. When the two things are saying different things, that's when it's like, okay, well, which one do I believe? Because I liked that one, but I like this better. So
it's authenticity, right?
Yeah.
And so while we might show up in various places, like how we find those stories, it comes from a lot of different places, but we have to build really good relationships with our partner network, with our sales teams, with our clients, with design teams, so that the stories we're telling aren't just, a current trend or, interesting and relevant, but really true to what we can actually deliver and so we're doing what we say we're going to do.
How do you equip those channel partners with the right things to say and kind of hold them to account, I guess? I don't know, because you're relying heavily on their advocacy. How does that work?
Yeah. And so for everyone to understand, we go to market through construction partners. And so while, DIRTT's kind of this central, resource and manufacturer, there are local teams, right? They're the people, and in construction, it's all about relationships. Oh, yeah. They're the people who are actually talking about dirt all the time. So really what we try to do is empower them. And I actually don't try to hold them to account. I really want to inspire them, right? And when I think about marketing, I don't think about just marketing to our end client. I think about marketing to and through our partners, because they have other things that they do as well, right? And how do I get them so excited and so in love with DIRTT? That's the first thing they want to talk about with their clients, right? What am I doing to empower them? How am I selling to them? It's a lot of communication, two ways. It's a lot of listening. It's a lot of building trust with them and only, following through and doing what I say I'm going to do for them from a marketing perspective. And we also focus a lot on our relationships. We have dedicated people who spend a lot of time with our partners, supporting them, helping them build their business and helping them be successful. And so it's just kind of an innate part of our culture that we're always wanting to support and be part of our partners' work and worlds. They're our clients as well, right? Yeah.
You talked a lot about different tactics and content opportunities that you pursue. Do you have a KPI dashboard, or how do you take a look at anything, at everything at a glance at the end of a X period and say, we're moving in the right direction, or we need to adjust here? Another big topic that keeps getting.
KPIs. Yeah. KPIs, sure, they're vital, but I think my experience at DIRTT has taught me that it's really nice to track those sorts of things, quarter by quarter, year over year. But I've had to stop and reevaluate what are we actually even tracking and why so many times, that I think we've finally gotten really clear on that. Because we've had so much change, because the vision and the leadership of the organization has shifted and rebounded. We've had to really stop and question what we're tracking and why. And the KPIs and measurement is really important. But for me, it's more about sharing those KPIs and explaining, but like really advocating for that value within our organization and within our partner network. That's probably the thing I've learned the most over the last couple of years. Yeah. I used to be this person that was like, let's just do great work and the results will just speak for themselves. Obviously, I've learned that that's not true.
But you say there's another valuable lesson there that you speak to, and that is not being, not considering it to be a failure to constantly reassess, hey, should we be measuring this? Because I think a lot of people measure things quarter by quarter because it's the way we've always measured it. And having enough confidence in yourself, your team, your brand to adjust those things and get to the root of what I guess really matters is what you're saying.
Get to the root of what matters. And yes, of course, we have our dashboards. Yes, of course, we have our reporting. My team is really great at thinking about what we should be reporting and why and how it matters. But yeah, it's just constantly reevaluating that and advocating for it. And, in an organization our size, we've got, experts at our leadership table who don't have history in marketing. They don't have to. That's not their job. They're maybe operational or finance or a number of other things that makes them very important to our leadership group. They don't have to be marketers. It's my job to come to them and say, this is what we're doing in marketing. This is why. This is how it's impacting the business. This is why you should care. And if I'm doing a good job of that, then I'm going to get the support I need to do what my team needs to do to help the business grow. And kind of that's what I'm getting at is I've learned so much about the importance of advocating and explaining those KPIs and what's really at the root of them, right? Because numbers only mean so much until you say, and if we keep doing this, then it's going to impact this business or element or something bigger.
Has that approach resulted in a closeness between you and the other members of the leadership team, C-suite, because speaking their language maybe, or because I think a lot of times marketers have a tough time penetrating the hearts and minds of other members of the leadership team, C-suite, because quite frankly, they may not even know what you're talking about. Has that?
Yeah, that's happened. Yeah, that's happened. And like I said, it's not because, they don't get it. It's just because they're focused on other things, right? And I do also think there's a bit of, there's confusion around what the definition of marketing even is.
I don't even know what it is.
Right? Sometimes I don't either. Sometimes people think it's sales enablement. Sometimes people think it's just digital stuff. I've had people think marketing is just making PowerPoints. And I
just need a brochure so I can go sell stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of what I do is just trying to explain the bigger impact of what I do and of what my team is doing. I get people who go, oh my God, marketing doesn't help us. They're useless. They don't do anything. And it's like, no, we're not helping you build your PowerPoint because we're over here driving leads that are helping close really big deals or inspire people or amplify our brand. And this is why that matters. And those kind of conversations can be trying because they happen all the time, but they're so important.
Is there like a forum, like a ceremony, like a meeting where you can actually communicate, like educate people essentially on what marketing is doing for the business? Not necessarily the numbers that we talk about. Do you have something like, it's like something like even quarterly where you're just saying, no matter what, for 90 minutes, I get your time. What does that look
90
like?
minutes. No, 2.
2 hours, okay.
2 minutes.
Yeah. We got to keep it tight. No, I mean, I have really great conversations with our leadership team. Of course, we get their attention. And a lot of what I do is less about broadcasting what we do and saying, hey, look at marketing, we're so great. It's more about the hallway conversation. It's more about like that chat over lunch. And it's like, hey, that's really cool you're doing that. We're working on this other thing. Can we bring it together? And it's building some of those like connections and trust throughout our organization that really actually have more impact. And so, yes, of course, I want to get on the all hands call with our partners and let them know what we're doing. But the chat I have after one-off with one of the leaders of one of our partners for 30 minutes where we dive deep on how I can help them, that's a lot more meaningful.
That's interesting.
Right?
So it's like living, it's living and breathing that role and that responsibility beyond the time constraints of the marketing meeting, but
course.
in the hallways.
Yeah.
That's actually great.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's advocacy essentially is what you're building. And I think for salespeople, especially, which are that relationship between sales and marketing is always an interesting one. It can be challenging. Sometimes it can be non-existent as a relationship, but like the advocacy part for salespeople, just because they're purely relationship driven people in many ways, the people out in the field, that is, it's powerful if you're thinking about ways to talk to them offhand, informally, to tell them what's happening and how marketing is thinking about X, Y, and Z and whether there's collaboration there. Like it's on point.
And it's vital because we also can't do what we do without them.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are some of our most vital intelligence and insight into what our clients need, right? Yeah. What do they care about? What's happening? What questions are they asking? Oh, I didn't know this trend was out there. Tell me more. I'm going to ask a few more reps, see if they're seeing that. We need to respond. We can't be successful without them. It's a two-way street. And ultimately what we do supports them. So if we're doing it right and we're building that trust, it's great for everyone. Yeah.
You referenced or alluded to, now that we have COVID a little bit in our rear view mirrors and people are starting to come back, it's exciting times for DIRTT and what you sell. What are you and your team identifying as the biggest challenges coming up in this year and going forward that you're ready to rally around?
Good question. Biggest challenges, maybe biggest opportunities. I think we're really excited to get back to more in-person experiences. We will always have a really strong focus on digital from a marketing perspective, but holistically, that those in-person experiences, you kind of can't beat them. And they're not about conversion. They're not about selling on the spot. They're about building relationships, bringing people into the fold, helping them see what it's like to really work with you, what your culture is. And so I'm really looking forward to that. We do those kind of events with our partners, bringing our partners together, making it educational, fun, engaging, and that's part of inspiring them. And we do client-facing events too. Every year in Chicago, we do something at our DIRTT Experience Center there, and we welcome like 2,000-ish people through the doors. And it's not about like seeing the latest and greatest thing that we make or do. It's about hosting them. It's about having a conversation. And so while, my team doesn't run all of that, we're engaged in part of it. And I'm really excited to see where we can take experiences now. They've evolved, right? They've really changed.
Yeah, and just you talk about kind of in-person experiences, just getting back to conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just strange, but also like it's still very valuable. I traveled to a bunch of conferences just before Christmas, and it was kind of wild to see. There was almost like a tightening of like reins on budget. So people were just a lot more focused and a lot better at executing their stands if they had them, or like the content that they were carrying with them. So, I know we're joking about brochures, but like it was bespoke brochures
for
people.
Email address.
Yeah, I mean, it was bespoke brochures for specific stakeholders that people were handing things over to, a VP of operations saying, I think this is relevant to you, and opening it and seeing your name on it. Like that is
personalization.
Yeah, it is marketing content really, because it, and I found that to be really, really interesting. So that I resonate with that a lot. You talk a little bit about the challenges. I'd love to know a bit more about, what are you excited for kind of coming into this new year beyond your own New Year's resolutions and all that stuff that we have to do, and then we give up very shortly. Like what are you excited about when you think about, the year ahead with DIRTT?
Honestly, I'm just really excited for what my team's going to do. Like I mentioned, we had so much change this year, but they've pulled together and they're just incredible. They're so creative and they're so smart and they're so driven. And we're already seeing the results of, the foundations we laid. And I can't wait to see what they come up with, because it's going to be way better than what I'm even imagining. We have some runway to do some creative work, to do some campaigns, to do some interesting storytelling around that kind of core origin piece of our history. And I'm really excited to see what we come up with, because I think it's going to help reach the right people and bring them the value that we have.
What I'm excited about is what you can do with this space. Like when you look around a little bit, is there anything that's like, oh, you got to have this product we make?
What I love about this space is an existing building, and the most sustainable building is one that already exists, right? Because you think about the amount of carbon that goes into building new construction. If you can preserve a space like this, and for those who can't see, it's old timber construction, and it's got these big, beautiful windows. And if you can enhance this with some different interior walls, maybe some nice storage, maybe some integrated technology, you could really make this space beautiful, and you don't have to tear much of it down and put it in a landfill.
Yeah. I think 4 years ago or 5 years ago, when open concept was like the new cool thing to do, and everyone, we're slowly realizing it is very not cool and very not conducive.
It's challenging, yeah.
It's like, how do you get your personal space? How do you find your space to have meetings? If it's a quick call here and there, I think that's what makes it hard, because it's hard to hide without taking up a meeting room, and then you don't want to take a meeting room.
And
I looked through DIRTT's website, and what I loved were those booths. Like,
nice.
I just thought in my head, I was like, I could have one of those if I built a house. Do you ever see a future for DIRTT where you work with a construction, because especially when I look at Calgary, and this is just from an Irishman's perspective.
Yeah.
In Ireland, I don't think we're there yet where we're as modular as they are here in terms of how they're building houses right now. It's still like, it's really turning now, but like back in the day, like it was really just like brick by brick, and it's one house at a time kind of thing. Whilst now, like, you see foundations get laid at the same time, and then the next piece. And I know to Calgarians, like, yeah, that's how it works, but it's not. Would you see a future where you could like take that technology and you could, let's say, go to a construction, and this is less of a marketing one, it's more of an innovation question probably. And you could go to a construction company who are building 50 houses somewhere and be like, this is the new office space for a house. And because the cool thing about your technology, it's just modular. So you just
all adaptable, it's all flexible. I know we, dipped our toe in residential several years ago. And that approach wasn't quite right then, but now we are doing a little bit more multifamily residential.
Oh, cool.
And it's all about kind of knowing, where we add value. So if you've got a space where you want to scale it, you need to build it quickly, you want to build something high quality, maybe it needs to change over time, like DIRTT's ideal for that. When you're talking about like, we've got an open space here, we wish we could have some more closed off space. What if you had a construction system that could change over the weekend?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right.
That's very cool.
So those kind of things where, your space can keep up with who you are, what you need. And think about different, downtown Calgary, you've got all this empty office space. And then, new tenants come in, they have to rip everything out and rebuild it to their needs.
Yeah, it's
what if
wild.
they could just reconfigure it. Change the colors, change the design a little bit.
I'm secretly
Right?
super passionate about tiny homes.
Nice.
I'm super passionate about
Aren't they
modern
cool?
cabins. I can go down a YouTube wormhole and I just get lost.
At
just-
6'3", I'm not excited about tiny homes.
No. That's yeah.
I'm not enough of a minimalist. Like, I just packed up my Christmas decor, and believe me, I have too much to live in a tiny home. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. But like, I guess what makes them interesting is what you're doing. It's just like, it's the modular. It's your ability to chop
Yeah.
and change the space.
Absolutely.
But anyway,
And through COVID, people's relationships with space have changed in their own space, and I think that variety or flexibility or customization is more prevalent right now. Obviously, more top of mind. So, I think it's exciting year and years ahead for DIRTT.
It's more relevant now than it
Yeah.
ever has been, and I'm pretty excited about that. And getting to a point where we can tell the story in a way that is really personalized, that is really tailored to each of those different groups that we're connecting with, is something we're trying to focus on and figure out better this year. We have all these different messages, we have different ways of engaging with different groups, but how do we get the right message to the right people at the right time in their journey?
Yeah, because I guess if you're
Right.
speaking to everyone, you're really speaking to no one, right?
Yes.
And so what are your different segments, like the main 3 segments that you approach?
Depends how you want to slice and dice it. So, education. So we build for large educational institutions all the way down to, small one-offs in classrooms. Healthcare, we're building hospitals, clinics, medical office buildings, and we do a ton of commercial space as well for workplace. And that looks like all kinds of different things, from, a traditional law office to a really modern technical space, space for a high-tech company, and everything in between, because it is so adaptable. So we're speaking to those different segments, and within that, of course, construction is complex. There's a lot of different people involved in that process. And they all care about different things.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about DIRTT is there's that kind of core piece in the middle where if you hit that story just right, it is kind of relevant to everyone.
I mean, you look at co-working spaces and how they were originally conceptualized, it was like, how many desks can we fit in this tiny room?
Yeah.
So that we can get as many people in as possible. But now, you know, some of the co-working space I'm starting to see have a hybrid model of like warehousing and office.
Yeah.
But like if you were able to essentially change that percentage, so like, you know, based on your clientele, and, you know, in 1 year you've got like 60-70% is office space, but then you can roll back different parts to it to turn it into 60% warehouse space. I feel like that's kind of what you need. And that's like a story. Like for me, what's exciting to me about DIRTT, when I think of content marketing, it's like taking and how to break it down and make it more clear for people. It's case studies where for me I can see, oh yeah, I understand what they do now. Because you can tell me it's industrial, you know, it's modern industrial construction and it's dynamic and it's this.
Right.
But until I see the relevance to me personally, and I see that like in one space I can move a room back and away to throw a party, and then I can have it open and have like a boardroom the next day and this, that, like that for me. Oh, I'm actually going to give them a call because I need something for this, for them. Yeah. So that's very cool.
It's always been what resonates with us the most, telling our clients stories, but not just, you know, talking about them, but actually getting them to tell the story about why this is going to impact their business or organization. Yeah. And then sharing how it has over the years. You know, we've got clients that have come back and changed their space dozens of times, and kept evolving it, and then wanted more DIRTT. And it's those kinds of stories that are like, okay, that's really cool. Yeah. So that's what we want to focus on, and video is huge for us.
Oh yeah, of course, because it's conceptualizing. It's like, and because we have such short attention spans these days, you know, it's like, it's the way we digest information. So yeah, that's really exciting.
One of the, and we'll end on this conversation, but one of the reasons why we try to have these interviews on, or episodes on Fridays, is to talk about what's going on this weekend for you personally.
Nice.
So what's a weekend in the life of Cassondra?
This weekend's going to be a little quiet, but I am hoping to get out snowboarding maybe next weekend. Love to do that. Haven't been out yet this year, which is weird for me. So we'll do that. I spend a lot of time walking my dog.
Well, what kind of dog have you got?
I have no idea what she is. She is a rescue, and we've not been able to figure it out. She looks a little bit like maybe a Wheaton and a Husky and a Lab and a Doodle, and
but she has no
ideas.
I have a Husky.
Pretty sure.
And I love dog people. Yeah. Caleb looks after people's dogs sometimes, which is great. It's good for, you know. My dog's out sleeping in the car.
What's your dog's name?
Her name is Sammy, and she's a Husky German Shepherd Lab Border Collie.
Can I meet her after this?
Oh yeah,
okay,
absolutely. Great. She loves meeting people.
Awesome.
I can't do it. I mean, I love dogs, but I love other people's dogs and just like getting them and
you like handing them back.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to hand her back. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, and she's annoying me. And Huskies do this thing where they take their bum and they kind of shove it into your side and like take me for a walk, and you're always just like, oh God. But no, they're fun.
I've got to admit, I'm pretty lucky. I've got a part-time dog. So while I'm at the office all week, she's over at my folks' house, at my parents' house.
Oh, amazing.
So she doesn't do very well being alone.
Okay.
She's got a little anxiety. So she gets to spend time with them and then come back to my house evenings, weekends, or maybe days I'm working at home.
I got to get that set up.
And it's pretty great. It's pretty great, got to admit. I miss her a lot when she's not around, though. But
you could take Sammy during the week for me. No. And then I could take her on the weekend again. It'd be perfect. Great, so let's just ask her. Yeah, we'll see how it works out.
If it's up to her, she'll do it.
Yeah.
What are you guys up to this weekend?
Oh, well, I have a little fun project with my dad. We run a folk club together, a folk music club. And so we have a concert tonight. Hey, if you're not doing anything, at the Lantern.
Wait, are you performing?
No.
Oh, okay.
We organize it.
Cool.
But it's good. It's going to be a good show.
Going as well. Yeah, it's a lovely space.
If you're not doing anything, the Lantern.
Okay. That sounds awesome.
Guest list. And then there's a little bit more Christmas we got to take down. We had to leave the tree up because my 3-year-old lost her mind when I started taking decorations off. So we got to wait till she's not looking.
She wasn't ready for it yet.
I'm going skiing tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I work with different producers in film here in Calgary, and so one of them is throwing a Christmas party because they just didn't.
Why not?
They didn't have time to
January?
do it over Christmas because they have an events company on the side. So he's down in Inglewood, and yeah, he always, his parties are famously always fun. Like he throws out, what's that game where you've got like the sacks and you have to throw them in the hole?
Cornhole.
Cornhole. Yeah, it's profound. It's really, they thought of that. They knew what they were doing. Guys, let's not deviate from what we're doing here. So yeah, that's my weekend. So it'll be nice.
Great.
Sounds awesome.
Well, I want to thank you again for sharing your time with us. And I think, the primary motivation behind this podcast is to help equip marketing coordinators, managers, directors, and CMOs to get different perspective on this game of marketing that we're playing. And I just think that your stories about maintaining the origin of the brand and weaving it through as teams come and teams go is super powerful and compelling. And very excited about what you guys have coming up.
Well, thank you so much.
And they're in good hands.
I hope they are. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about the rest of your podcast series. I can't wait to check it out. Thank you.